Hello, Taurus. Thank you so much, you guys, as always, for being here. Okay, Taurus, so looking at your third week of November, you pulled the Call of the Night, Release, and Obsession. I think that a lot of you have had like a one-track mind, this one-track like focus on how things should be. And it's because of that that you may be missing out on opportunities that belong to you, is what I feel like here. So the Call of the Night is talking about getting out of your comfort zone, needing to experience something other than the typical mundane things that you experience every day. But there is an intention behind that that has now become an obsession. And it's because of this that you may be missing out on something, and then there's this need to kind of release that and experience something different. I keep getting this message of, Taurus, you really need to go and do something different. You're missing out on something that was meant for you. So, and I just want to read a part of Release real quick because it's so closely related to the Call of the Night. It says, the presence of this card highlights the need to let go. For example, in relinquishing the comfort of old habits or attachments to goals and future outcomes, right? It says, the unpredictability of the future, potential threats to our worldly identity, and our attachment to outcomes can all play a role in holding us back and keeping us blinded to more appropriate opportunities. And then obsession. The quote for this says, there is nothing else that can replace my focus. And then the sentence says, all things lead to one, and then they disappear into one until only that one remains. So needing to release the obsession of how something should work out or how things should be for you based on, you know, the same opportunities showing up time and time again. It's like, Taurus, you need to go outside. Just go outside, Taurus. Go do something different, you know. And for Taurus specifically, it's funny how this message is showing up in those cards, because anything that would disrupt your security and stability, you know, I can imagine there being this kind of hesitation and going back to these obsessive thoughts of, yeah, but this is what's going to create my security and stability. But you're missing out on something. I feel like something was meant for you to experience. And it's not bad. It's like, you know, that push, right? Just go outside, Taurus. You know, and nobody likes to think about the opportunities they may be missing out on. But this seems bigger than just that. Like, something that was meant for you is meant for your highest good in a way that I don't think that you may see right now. Your overall, the Nine of Coins, and speaking of your security and stability, right? This is independence, but being able to enjoy what you've created. You know, enjoying the finer things in life. If this doesn't describe Taurus, I don't know what the hell does, right? But this may be your focus right now. But there may be a different opportunity for you to be able to obtain that. Now, I also look at the Nine of Coins as like remaining independent from something. I have everything that I need. I don't need to be attached to anything else. You know, especially if it's going to disrupt the ability to enjoy your life, you know, and the things that you've worked for. In the past, the Star. So hope, right? Hope and healing. And this again may be, and I don't know why this seems to be a reoccurring theme, but the focus on bigger goals and dreams seems to be important for everybody. You know, I just got done telling Aries the same thing. We have a tendency to look at the bigger goals and dreams and look at how it's not possible rather than how it may be possible. But the Star, having hope being brought back in from the past, right? Now, this, though, could be about a past situation where you have gotten healing from it. and finding, like, this independence. Okay, and then there's Aries. In the present, the Emperor, who is in control. It's funny because there was a conversation last week with one of the comments about the Emperor showing up. And I very much understood where this person was coming from when they were talking about them being creeped out about the Emperor showing up. Because there is this kind of level of oppression that may be coming through the form of a person who may be dictating things, right? But this, though, and this is a big thing, if you have had hope and healing restored to you out of a past situation, this may be you, though, taking back control of, what's happening. But again, the Nine of Pentacles or the Nine of Coins, this really is strongly indicating this. I've removed myself from a situation where I have had to do this kind of healing. And because of that, the door may be opening for different opportunities to be coming through. But, if you're like trying to control how these things come in, that may be where, the release is happening with your oracle cards, right? But we'll see. Oh my God. And then there you are with the Hierophant. The Hierophant, man. So when you're talking about the fives, you're talking about all the difficult changes that we experience in the mundane. But it's enough to want to seek some kind of higher understanding as to why these things happen. And the Hierophant is the one that we go to get that spiritual understanding in a way where you can use it in a practical way. But this is conformity, right? Doing things in the traditional sense. And it may be that this is what works for you now. But that may have to do with an issue of, who has had control over the direction that you take, right? But the Hierophant, though, there is a certain way of doing things that works. And this is learning that and conforming to it. But it's bringing you to the Nine of Coins. Now, it may be that after having hope and healing restored to you from a past situation, there is, this level of control being returned to you where you may have been oppressed by, either the system or others or someone in particular. But I think that you go back to what you know, which is interesting because it's so contrasting to this message of, you need to experience something different. But, we'll see how this is coming out. This is interesting. Oh my God, what is happening, Taurus? Your best path to follow the world. And this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, this is closure in a way where all of the possibilities are unlimited at this point. So if you go back to your past and you look at what your hopes and your dreams are, and what situations have caused you to need to do some healing, this should be opening the door for you to see many different possibilities. But the Hierophant almost feels restricting in this position, like, especially with the Emperor preceding it. And this may be like you needing to, how do I put this, get control over the situation so that you have the closure that you need, so you're not constantly conforming to what somebody else expects of you. But this is, it's closure, it's the successful completion. And your reward for that, for one, is to never have to go through it again, but to also see that the possibilities are endless. It's the world opening up to you after the big ending that's happening here. Okay. Taurus, what's happening? Yeah, and you know, there, with justice being in your environment and looking at the Emperor, first of all, with justice, we're talking about accountability. But if somebody is trapped in their ego, it may be hard to get, you know, the fairness and balance that you're looking for in this situation. And none of this is bad, mind you. I'm looking at this from a place of you removing yourself from a situation, creating your own security and stability, and enjoying your life, remaining independent from the way things should be done, right? And this may be where your focus should be, rather than trying to get fairness and balance in a situation where commitment may be tested. But this is rough. Now, with the Emperor, though, if we're talking about you, right, it is you exerting your control over the situation in order to create fairness and balance. But accountability is what I'm getting from this, especially with the star preceding all of this, right? Having to do healing because of a past situation. Somebody may not be taking accountability because the Emperor is like, I'm doing what I know to be right, but it may be oppressive to you. And commitment seems to be a thing here. But what is it that you're committing yourself to? It's almost like, I need you to take accountability here, but you may not be getting that. And it may be that this is where there needs to be this kind of like release, especially if there's this obsessive focus on, you know, I've had to do this healing because of this kind of controlling energy, but now I'm obsessed with, you know, them making things right. And with the Hierophant, right, again, there's this like question of the commitment, the conformity that's happening. And again, I say this because I'm looking at these two. These are more important to me than what else is going on. It's great to be pulling the energy of the star, but how can you see, you know, the bigger hopes and dreams if you're constantly in this place of, in order for me to be in control of my world, things need to be fair and balanced, and that has to do with somebody taking accountability. And it may be, like I said, that that's what you need to let go of, because this is all about, you know, how you're getting the closure that you need. But understanding that it's very simply just making the decision to be like, yeah, I'm done. But in a way where you're only focused on what is happening for you in the future. Whew. Oh, okay. Your hopes and your fears, the King of Wands, and looking at the Emperor. Again, this is, to me, somebody who may be struggling with their ego. And again, there's this kind of like oppressive feeling. But, you know, the hope here would be that this King of Wands kind of gets control over himself. Right? And it doesn't matter who this person is here, but I feel like, you know, because it's your hopes and fears, it's going to have to do with an outside person. With the King of Wands, you're talking about, first of all, somebody who is very attractive, has, you know, no problem with showing others the way, like, oh, that's the goal you want to achieve? I know how to get you there. Let me show you the way. Let me show you how to make your passions a reality, type of thing. But because we're talking about, you know, a person with this kind of, you know, attitude outwardly, I think that the hope there is that this person kind of comes back into a sense of self-awareness where they're not constantly trying to control everything that's happening. For you, it would be hoping that, this part of you is enacted so that, you can experience something different than the everyday, right? Like the constant mundane everyday things with the Hierophant. But, I don't know. That's the outside situation. Internally within you, this is going to be getting a deeper spiritual understanding of, why you're kind of facing this situation of control and balance. And it may be that you stop thinking inside the box, right? But if we're talking about a person with the Emperor, I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Because this would definitely be somebody who is very ego-driven. And we're still talking about this major healing that has had to come out of the past. And you removing yourself and then getting this closure. What has to happen in order for you to be able to make fair and balanced choices for yourself? What needs to be balanced out? Where there was control exerted onto you, or, what you are trying to achieve. But this King of Wands here it's iffy to me. Okay, and then coming out the Five of Wands, right? And this is petty garbage. It's petty conflict. And I certainly don't think it's internal, because if you're coming from your own power here with the Hierophant and having deep spiritual understanding in a very practical way, and you're able to use that, right? Like, this is not anything worth getting involved with, especially with, the King of Wands being the hopes and fears here. There might be this need to become aware of who you're allowing to exert control over the decisions that you make. But that is just, ugh. It's not internal conflict, because you wouldn't be the Hierophant, like I said, right? So this is, the petty garbage that may be going on around you, maybe going around, somebody that you're dealing with here. And there's this, like, wanting to force control. But for you, it's like, I have nothing to do with that. That's kind of what that feels like. Oh, God. The Page of Swords. The Queen of Cups. Okay. And then the Seven of Coins. And I think it's through this kind of reevaluation that, there's a better potential for you to go ahead and find the closure that you need on this situation, because these conflicts of control and fairness and balance are not changing. But that may have to do with the attitude of another person. And this could be representing, the kind of commitment issues that you may be experiencing because of somebody. But this is you removing yourself from that. This is independence in a way where you get to feel better about you and what you have in your world, especially if it's been, controlled by somebody else. The Page of Swords. This is the kind of communication that you don't want to hear. The Page of Swords typically, and I've been on so many rants about this damn card, I do not like it. I do not like getting half the story. It very much reminds me of having these situations with people where they're explaining, I said this and I did that, but you're only hearing from their own perspective. So the need to find out more, immediately makes me ask the question, well, what did the other person say? This, though, can also indicate, like, the difficult kind of communication coming through. Typically, like, court papers would be served through the Page of Swords, right? Where you have to go find out what the hell's going on, having to deal with the justice system and dealing with all that bullshit, right? But this is the difficult communication that I feel like you've had to do some healing from. And for some of you, absolutely, it could have to do with separation or divorce. But this is not getting the full picture, not getting the full story. And then the Queen of Cups, right? And the Five of Wands. There's this conflict within you, I think, in dealing with how you're feeling about this situation. You know, especially if you're dealing with somebody that has no problem, you know, manipulating the way that you feel. This is being open-hearted. But the Page of Swords may be challenging that very, you know, internal nature of being caring emotionally and supportive. And there's also this kind of question of what you've been taking on emotionally for the benefit of somebody else. And that may be where this kind of like need for accountability and fairness and balance is coming through. But the Seven of Pentacles, if you're really being honest with yourself about how you feel about the information that's creating this kind of conflict for you, right? You would be looking at it going, okay, so here is where we're starting to see the full picture of the growth that is happening. And there's always this like feeling with the Seven of Pentacles, you know, besides reevaluating things, it's doing it because you haven't seen the full potential of what could possibly grow from this situation. Typically, I look at this as somebody finally looking at what they have in front of them and reevaluating on whether or not it's worth it, especially emotionally for you. This may be you finding out conflicting information that you may have tried to heal from before. Some of you, if this has to do with a relationship, I think that you're going to get exactly what you need to hear in order for you to find the closure that you need. Even though it may not be the full picture, you may understand emotionally on a level that this person will never get. They'll never understand. And I do think that you're coming from this higher awareness. But, you know, the question of conformity here, and if we're talking about you needing to experience something different, this may be the spiritual realization and understanding that it's time to get closure on the situation and stop continuously going over again this healing that has to happen because of power struggles, somebody having ego issues, you know, whatever it may be, because you're looking for things to be corrected, right? I don't know, Taurus, what I would say here is that whatever opens your eyes up to, you know, exactly what you've gotten from this and how it makes you feel. I think that, you know, again, if you're honest with yourself about how you're feeling about this, I don't think that you want to deal with the conflict anymore. Oh, man. And this is huge. There's so many majors going on in this. And then you have this King of Wands, Queen of Wands dynamic. But the conflict that goes on there, I think, is what's getting you to really be aware of your emotional state through this and how, you know, your feelings may have been, I don't want to say manipulated, but pulled in a certain direction. And that's only because of this, like, controlling energy with the Emperor. Love, yeah. Love and healing. And then integration, being able to integrate all of that in order for you to see different possibilities to get the closure that you need, right? It's time for this to be over for good, with the world being there. But that's so that all of the possibilities that are available to you start opening up, where you may not have been aware of that before because of what has had control over you, right? But love for yourself, and I'm looking at that Queen of Cups, right? Like, if you love yourself enough, you will do what's necessary. But that is so that the healing can continue and that the situation can be integrated and not suppressed and pushed into the shadow and then rear its ugly head later and affect you in different ways, right? Nothing will come of this situation. So if you continue this based on what you're seeing in this reevaluation state because of this conflict that comes up, over some kind of communication. I think that there's this kind of like realization that nothing different's going to happen here. It's just the same thing, right? Conclusions are within reach. There you go. And that's what needs to happen here, Taurus. You know, and obviously this isn't going to be for everybody. For those of you who understand what I'm talking about, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to be in a commitment or a marriage. If you're dealing with something that has control over your life and you're obsessively thinking about how there needs to be accountability, that may block you. But I think that there is an understanding of that and this like deep spiritual awareness happening with this the Hierophant and the Five of Wands, right? And again, it's like understanding why these changes are happening. But the pettiness involved with the Five of Wands, I think, is not so much the situation being downplayed, but you seeing it in a way where it's not, you know, life altering anymore, where everything else has been. But nothing will come in this situation if you continue down the same path. It's just going to continue to be the same thing. And there's this importance here to integrate what has happened or what you're dealing with, because you don't want to have that suppression and have it pop up again. But the conclusions being within reach and looking at the world, a much better place for you, and your focus, not only with self-love and healing, but with that Nine of Pentacles too, I think is what would be the perfect conclusion to this situation for you.